Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of our Looking Back and Moving Ahead podcast.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah, this time...
It's been so long!
this time we'll talk about the rise and fall of Geargia,
we have
Inzektors, Agents...
Wait, shouldn't you talk about
Shut
Cosmo
up.
Blizzard right now? Because it'll be the
Shut up.
before.
Shut up. Anyways, so... Yeah, let's talk a bit about Geargia. Like, what happened to that? Seriously, like, I mean...
Mermails happened.
Mermails happened to that.
It's very linear and didn't do much but
It's
one
like-
combo.
The resurgence of Inzektors and the release of Mermails did them in.
Yeah, so, like, what would you guys say is the biggest weakness in Geargia? I mean...
They have to commit their advantage card to the field, which is Geargia armor. Geargia armor is what gives them their advantage, and since they have to put that out in the field for it to get its advantage, yes, if you can keep it out and protect it, you can maintain your advantage engine going, but the fact that you have to put it out there means that it's weak to things, and with Thunder King being as prevalent as it was, they could just ram the Thunder King in and take care of it with something else if they needed it. Or with Mermails Lannian, they could just pop it, Inzektors just pop it.
I feel like, yeah, like, the weakness is that the Geargia armor is just a passive play. And
and it can miss timing if you flip it with Papal Operative.
Oh, wow.
Like
That's
their
dirty.
linear predictable plays just like I don't know, they just
Yeah, I feel like it's just like it's a really passive play, and honestly, none of the top tier really is like everything else in the top tier is just a lot more active. Whereas like setting an armor, and then that just it's not plus. Like I mean, you get the plus, but it doesn't set enough like dominance in the actual game state, I think. And so in that way it's not very good. Also, I feel like Machina Fortress just isn't what it used to be. I mean,
It's still a good card, but the thing is, if you're going to go with the Machina build, I'd almost prefer playing gadgets, because at least with gadgets, you get your advantage the second it hits the field.
yeah, that's
you get
always
your plus
been
right then and there.
it's like you just plus every turn. It's just like play
Yeah.
plus.
that's always been why I've advocated the gadget build, because I mean, like, a lot of people say like, oh yeah, but armor has 19 defense, but does it matter right now? I mean, like, you can summon a gadget, get a plus, and then next turn, when you like summon the second gadget, you've already made more than like Geargia armor's plus anyways.
It's not like you're not running Tragodia. I mean,
right.
it's like Tragodia made such an impact on this format. It's just ridiculous. Tragodia is so good. It makes decks like gadgets and agents really good.
Right. So like, any closing words on machines? Like, I mean, where do you think? Like, I've always felt like even if they got better, they always have that kind of innate weakness to like system down. But
They have that innate weakness, but I think
I don't even think that's it anymore. I think it's
Yeah.
just
it's what is it? I forget which Hin Arsenal. When the Hin Arsenal that comes out with Tinplate Goldfish or Tin Goldfish, whatever we're gonna call it, we're gonna see a slight resurgence in machine decks for a little while, just because people will jump on that bandwagon because OCG decks play it all the damn time.
But I don't know.
Other
I
than
mean,
that-
like,
At that moment, anyways, Valor's gonna resurge in popularity because of Tachyon Galaxy, and everybody's gonna be running Valor when that pack comes out.
Precisely.
right. So I don't. I mean, like, go ahead, Tim.
My theory is that like machine decks can't actually be viable when we have system down in the game.
That's true. Yeah, like any machine deck will just kind of always have that little. Like, even if it gets to be top tier, it can never be like tier 0 or anything simply because.
It's like looking at Dark Worlds, kind of. It's like they can never be tier 1 because they lose to themselves.
So our next deck is Inzektors. Now this deck was like Banlist hit. Oh my god, Dragonfly. Oh my god, Hornet. They're both to 1. This deck must be dead. But yeah, and then like they won and they started topping, and it's just kind of like, how did we not see it? And then we got like the build with the troopers and the card cars and the threatenings, and now it's kind of like it's not necessarily rampant or anything, but you will see it at a regional. Like, you will play it one round, maybe 2, and it's kind of got a bit of a safeguard because not too many people really side Shadow Mirror. That's my thoughts on it, at least. What are you guys' thoughts on like Inzektors right now? I mean,
They're just a deck that no one saw coming.
People started to disregard it because they thought it was dead, so they stopped signing for it, and hand traps falling out of favor kind of set up a scenario where Inzektors could shine.
It was a good medical, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, Tim, like, what are your thoughts on that deck? I mean, like,
I think it's just it's like Infernity in that it'll never go away. It just follows the format, in that if there's an opening, it can be used, but it's not great because it's inconsistent.
yeah, I've unfortunately seen Inzektors lose simply kind of just to bad hands because now they're forced to run the sometimes less than ideal Ladybug. And I mean, even though Ladybug makes plays, you have to still have like a Centipede or a Dragonfly to make that play. And
It's 2 cards to go into 1 card to go into 1 card.
yeah, and Hornets, Hornets only at 1, so I don't know, like Centipedes like really the deck's backbone right now. And that's kind of a shame because Bottomless is seeing so much play right now. And I know if you can protect the Centipede, you're generally like in a strong position, but like because you literally only have one monster to rely on because you only have like a single Dragonfly, and that's usually what you're gonna have to search with the Centipede. I feel like that just kind of puts it at a consistency weakness. I mean, do you guys agree, or maybe like?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the point.
Yep,
Right.
they are now rogue.
It's
Definitely.
not rogue. It's another deck. Does its one thing like most of them do.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to define Rogue right now, like with the tier 2 as big as it is. So speaking of tier 2, the next deck is Agents. Now, this is a deck that like I always see it topping. You don't really ever see it like win too much, but it's always there and it's got really solid matchups. Why is it not bigger, you guys? Like, I mean, what's your like why do you think Agents aren't as
I think I think nobody's really wanting to play the deck in lieu of the other, like, because other cards have more allure. The other decks have more allure to them. Where like agents are like a linear type deck, but they plus all the time. But the deck, you can't just go, oh, Venus, get all the shine balls and waste your engine that fast. And people are just, I don't know, they're just playing their cards to be playing them with agents. But you just have to hold, like, people are, this one, everybody wants to drop all their stuff and just try to win the game. But that's not what agents are about. Agents are like one of the last decks in the format that used to operate like the old decks did. They just held all their boss monsters until they knew they could win. And a lot of people aren't doing that. And that's what Simon He did. And people from United Ghosts.
Yeah, Justin, Tim, I mean, do you guys disagree, agree? What are your thoughts, Agents?
It's just the fact that it can drop a boss monster at any point in the game, and then their boss monsters aren't like a regular boss monster, where it will just change the tide with, 0 cost, I guess I want to say.
Right, so why do you guys think then that, like, I mean, do you guys think that people just aren't using them because it's not as pick up and play as something like, well, really, there aren't really any, like, just total pick up and plays right now, but,
Agents have been doing good this format. I don't see how they're not doing well.
so, like, I mean, like, why do you think people aren't so keen to use them? It's just because it's,
I mean, you have Macro Rabbit, you have Wind-Ups playing D-Fisher. The deck's not hard to side against. It's one of those decks that gets the game once, but games 2 and 3 are a very uphill battle to it.
and Justin, how about you? Like, what are Agents in your opinion right now?
They're just another good deck. I really have nothing to contribute on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they've got the bosses as their strong suit. I think, in my personal opinion, it's just people don't like decks that don't have that immediate allure of like aggression to them, and Agents don't really have that. So
Well, I don't know if it's an immediate lure to aggression thing, because agents can be very aggressive, very fast, and change the game state very easily. It's like Tim said. It's games 2 and 3 can be a very uphill battle, and they do have some not overt, but sort of weaknesses to banishing with the fissures and the macros.
oh yeah,
I
like,
mean,
in defense of like my opinion, I mean, I was just saying, like, because whereas with like wind ups, people like the idea of, oh, if I open with these 2 cards, I can shock lock and win. Or like if I'm playing Mermails, I can just
They don't open D Fissure. Like agents run like double Maxi, double Valor, double Herald.
Yeah, they've got all the hand traps.
Yeah, they run like every hand trap because they can. If you don't open like D Fissure, it's like your play doesn't. It's not gonna go through a lot.
I don't know. So where would you guys place agents as far as like in order of like being like what did you say is like the 4th best deck, I guess, right now? Or would you say it's somewhere?
I would put it as a tie with Mermail Atlantean. That's just me.
Tim, Justin.
I mean, it's like the same thing with Inzektors. It's there. It has its thing. But I mean, if they were to play each other, if the top tier decks were to leave, it would still be a power struggle.
Justin, like, where do you place agents as far as like, numerically in the like best decks right now?
Yeah, I'm not into putting like a numeric value on the location of the
Right now,
decks.
it's like
They're there. They're good. It's like if you want to put a number to like 1.5 or whatever, it's not necessarily
Right. Yeah.
it's not bad. It's a good deck. It is performing well this format.
Skill has a lot to do with everything right now.
Yeah.
It's like not a lot of it's skill, but it's a lot more skillful than some past formats.
Now, for the 4 decks that just kind of were there and then they weren't, Dark World, what happened?
I think we've answered this many times in these podcasts. It cannot be a good deck. It kills itself.
Still, though, people were under the impression that it would have a great matchup against Atlanteans, and so it should be used. Even with the mirror match aside, I feel like must be some other reason people aren't using the deck. I blame macro.
Dust, macro, D Fissure. Like we have 3 MSTs in the game. That's an advantage engine can't be built on spell and trap right now.
Mason, Justin, same general ideas, or
Dark World started to do something? That's my question.
The thing is, Dark World kills its own popularity because the more popular it gets, the higher chance there is of the mirror match, and nobody wants to do a Dark World mirror match. And on top of that, it has inherent weaknesses, of course, to the banishing. Bistwaler has come out, and it also its own engine is inconsistent. The deck is basically half the discards and half the discard outlets and draws, but what do you really do if you have your discard outlets but no discards, or vice versa?
Right, yeah, I've noticed like every card in that deck kind of like nothing does anything on its own. Nothing. Like literally no card in that deck can just function as a standalone card. You have to have another card to go with it, or some kind of setup. The field spell is not good. You can't just play the field spell. You can't just play Snow. You can't just play Dark World Dealings or even like Drag Down. You have to have other stuff in your hand and have plays. And like when every single card in a deck is like that, it's not even a combo deck. It's just a really underwhelming kind of, I don't know what to call it, deck.
Well, it's like it's reliant on being on the field, being and like having stuff in the graveyard and having stuff in your hand at the same time.
Yeah, never.
So the field spell itself requires setup, so it's just
asking for a lot of ideal conditions in order to be able to go off.
And now, Chaos Dragons. This is a little more interesting because they were sort of around in the Reduce regionals, and then they sort of left. Why do you guys think that is?
macro.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer.
I mean, yeah, I again kind of attribute macro to the...
I mean, because it's like Lila and Raiko are not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
And you can't stop all the bottomlesses, the deep prisons, the torrentials, and the macros with those with monsters. It's just there's too much.
Right, yeah. And
There's
because...
just going to be more things coming out that hurt Chaos Dragons in the near future.
And it doesn't help, that it's now become really staple to use deep prisons and bottomless in so many decks. I think that's definitely an issue. One thing that I also don't like is like whereas it should have a pretty good matchup against Dino Rabbit, it doesn't now. Not just because of the macro, but like I find more Guiba opportunities now because they're a lot of times more like forced to set like wyverns, and like they'll switch Olila to defense, and you can just go like Guiba and run it over, and that's just been helpful for me personally.
Like, as you know, you're playing as Chaos Dragons, and you set a dead MST. It's like they can't help themselves with the Lila. You just bust out the Gueva and they can't do anything.
So the next deck is one that's not quite as susceptible to macro. Six Samurai. What about these? These just why aren't they around?
The effect, the monster effect, monster effects rule the game right now.
Right,
If you're in a format where spell and traps had a lot more bearing on the game, Six Samurai would be a little better. But monster effects just rule the game right now, and they can't do anything to it.
What, I mean, Tim, how about you? I mean, like, do you think are Sams even a threat to anything?
It's the idea that 2500 attack on a monster isn't impossible to get over anymore.
26 is kind of the standard right now for the top monsters, and there's not many decks in the format right now that actually have things that are over that.
What's
Right.
26?
I mean, I feel like 25 is kind of more the number. I mean, like 25 is the number to beat, maybe. I don't know, because I mean,
Well, I
like,
say it's 26 because, well, kind of because of windups with their rank 5s being the highest they have. Then
But we
Myotirus,
really
Adris,
summon
stuff like
rank
that.
5s.
what'd you say, Tim?
We really summon our rank 5s. Yeah, extra deck is a tool, but at the same time, they're more tool than the other cards are in the deck.
Well, I think what Justin's saying is more along the lines of like, if the average monster strength is 24 or 25, then windups have the 26, which kind of becomes the end all of it because they have access to that. It might not be common, but because they have access to it, it kind of makes it the end all.
Sure.
I mean,
But then, like, the attack doesn't really mean anything that much right now. It's like if I put a 2400 attack Laggy on the board, it doesn't matter how much attack he has.
right.
I mean,
That's true.
Yeah.
So we can more or less attribute it to kind of the lack of monster effect stopping as to why Sams just aren't. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never liked that they have a horrible kind of late game.
It's like
They're not-
Megalove just comes down and destroys their shit.
They're
Yeah.
not consistent. They do. It's like Inzektors. It just does this one thing. There's-
Right.
It's,
Yeah, I mean, and now what about heroes? They're interesting because they can win, but like, I don't know.
Compulse and Deep Prison are really prevalent. And then there's just, I don't know. Macro doesn't hurt them, but it inconveniences them. There's just, I don't know. There's just so much stuff that can be said about heroes.
it's
Just-
kind of a mix up between like the speed of the format plus the insurgence of the hand guy, big dude, not Gores, but
Burgodia?
yeah.
I think it's partly like just you could attribute it to the fact that heroes can't they aren't able to solve any problems. They're just able to summon pretty big monsters. And
It's like the only thing heroes can do is sack you.
yeah, like they can
But
like
it's
summon
Might
their
with you, but they can sack you.
like they can do their blade armor and they can do their Excalibur and they can do their shining, but they can't destroy any other opposing threat. So like if there's a Lagia with a bottomless set or like or like a Megalo that can drop and destroy their stuff, there doesn't really seem to be anything they can do about it.
I just
And
think,
there's nothing to
Samurai
counter.
Spark has become like less of a good card than it used to be. Like Lance just destroys that card because they neg 2 because they don't get to draw. I mean, like, because if you Lance your monster and they Gemini Spark and chain Lance, they lost the alias and they don't draw.
Lance is a card that I think we're finally seeing the power of it, but it's kind of unchecked if you think about it.
Like what do you mean?
Like, yeah, it's useful in this format where there's multiple decks and it wins like the one chain of events. But overall,
Last format, it was only used in Dino Rabbit.
yeah,
This format's used in everything.
it's like the natural progression of players. Like we're figuring out that double lance in windups and double lance in, Inzektors. It's also like I want to say it's the next. It's not the next Book of Moon in skill, but the fact that you could just play 2 and 3, and not and have less things to worry about.
It has many parallels with Book of Moon. It's not Book of Moon, but it's close.
Justin, you agree?
Pretty much.
Right, yeah. All right, well, that concludes part 2 of our podcast. Tune in next week, and you get to hear about our ban list predictions. This should be fun. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Bye.